I don't think this is a widespread agreement on the term, but I think there are hard problems in the sense that solving them might mean you also got the singularity along with it. Natural language translation, really effective, fluent natural language translation, I personally think is probably a hard problem. You got that, you got the singularity. And it'd be interesting to know if there are some problems that look a lot simpler, like cleaning an unprepped bathroom. If there's no distributed intelligence in the bathroom, you haven't put up markers, you just throw the device in there, it's never seen it before, and some cleaning aids, and it's supposed to clean the bathroom. That's hard.
So how do you regard the singularity? Are you apprehensive? Are you looking forward to it?
If the singularity were something that we were talking about that was likely to happen 1,000,000 years from now or 1,000 years from now, I think that most people, including myself, would get this warm, fuzzy feeling about it. Our good works gradually leading to a better world in the real world, and eventually getting very, very good, and perhaps eventually, since no species is going to be unchanged forever, that we would become or grow into or create something that was better. That was 1,000,000 years from now, cool. Most people, I think, would be quite comfortable and happy even with that. On the other hand, the possibility that will happen before most of the audience contemplating the notion has retired makes almost all of them very uneasy. So I would confess to that level of uneasiness, but in a way it's a problem of just confronting any very large change. And it certainly could be disastrous in the dark disaster type way. It's easy to write stories like that, and it's easy to make scenarios like that. It's also, in my opinion, much more likely that it is the most likely non-catastrophic scenario for this century.
And is there any way to prepare for it? What am I going to do about it?
I like the way you phrased that. It was prepare for rather than prevent. My personal take on preventing it is that if it can happen, it will happen. And if it can't happen, it doesn't matter whether you tried to prevent it or not. It's not going to happen. As far as preparing for it, if from a standing start where you don't even know whether it can happen to having it happen, if that happens very, very fast, the hard takeoff scenario I talk about in the Spectrum article, then there's not much you can do. I think that if it's something that takes 20 or 30 years to go from the state that we are in now, having an interview like this about, oh, well, could something like this ever happen, to the state where it really has happened and, generally acknowledged that it's happened. If that takes 20 or 30 years, then there is plenty of room for human interaction, human planning, human efforts to make it turn out to be an extremely and obviously good and safe thing. So thinking about it from that standpoint is very important, and planning and trying to decide what sorts of things might be especially dangerous and what sort of things are not dangerous, what sort of things are good. There's certain sorts of things that are probably much more dangerous than others. For instance, research that involves and necessitates faster and faster product steps without looking at consequences. What sort of research is like that? Arms races can be like that. So these guys are kind of engineering themselves into a situation where they're taking more and more chances. Children can grow up to be monsters. Children almost always, even children without metaphor, often turn out to be more competent than their parents, and they eventually do things the parents don't like. However, in the early years, if the parents are good to them and also wise, it's a very big plus for the parents.
Do you have kids?
No.
No.
And you do.
I do.
Yes.
I do. Yeah. And I actually.
You're in a critical era where you're answering this question.
Exactly.